Have you ever wished your brain came with an owner's manual? Well, today we're talking about something that's pretty much the next best thing. It's a skill called metacognition, and it has the power to fundamentally change how you learn, how you solve problems, and even how you manage your own well-being.
I mean, we've all been there, right? Your eyes are moving across the words, you get to the bottom of the page, you turn it, and then poof, a complete blank. You have absolutely no idea what you just read. You were technically reading, but your mind was somewhere else entirely. It's so frustrating.
And hey, it's not just about learning. It's that awful feeling when one little worry pops into our head and just starts spinning and spinning, gathering more and more steam. And you feel totally powerless to hit the brakes, even when a part of you knows it's getting out of hand.
So here's the thing, and this is really important. These moments are not a sign that you're not smart enough or disciplined enough. Not at all. They're actually symptoms of a missing skill, a failure of what scientists call metacognition. So what on earth is it? Okay, put simply, metacognition is just thinking about your own thinking. It's your mind's amazing ability to step back and observe itself in action. And we're going to use this one big idea to help us understand it. Think of it as the control dashboard for your brain. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we need to understand how that dashboard actually works. It's basically built on three main pillars that all work together to give you that insight and, that control over your own mind. First up, we've got metacognitive knowledge. You can think of this as the user manual for your own brain. It's all about knowing yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses. Like, you know what? I'm a morning person, so that's when I should do the hard stuff. Or, man, I really get distracted when I have a million tabs open. It's also knowing what tools are in your toolbox, like knowing you can break a huge project into tiny, manageable pieces. All right, pillar number 2 is regulation. This is where you actually get in the driver's seat. It's the active part. This is you planning your approach before you start a task, monitoring the gauges while you're working, noticing when your attention is drifting, and then evaluating how it all went afterwards so you can learn for next time. And pillar number 3, this one's fascinating. Metacognitive experiences. These are the gut feelings. They're the little warning lights and gauges on your dashboard. You know that tip of the tongue feeling where you just know you know the answer, but you can't quite grab it? That's one of them. Or that little ping of confidence when you feel like you've really learned something. These feelings are super important data points that guide your actions. And this table here just lays it all out so clearly. You can see how your knowledge breaks down into the what, the how, and the when and why. Your regulation is that constant cycle. Plan, monitor, evaluate. And your experiences, those are those real-time gut feelings that guide the whole process. See how it all fits together? Okay, so that's the theory, right? But why are we calling this a superpower? Well, now we're going to get to the evidence, because when you see the real-world impact of training this skill, it's honestly mind-blowing. So first, let's take a look at education. It turns out that when schools explicitly teach kids these skills, how to plan their study time, how to check if they're really understanding something, how to reflect on what works for them, the results are just transformative. And this number? Wow. According to a massive review by the Education Endowment Foundation, this kind of teaching can give students the equivalent of 8 extra months of academic progress in a single year. Just let that sink in for a second. 8 months. It is one of the most powerful ways to boost learning, especially for students who might be struggling. But the story doesn't stop there. Not even close. In the world of mental health, there's this revolutionary approach called metacognitive therapy, or MCT. And it's a total game changer. Instead of fighting with the content of your anxious thoughts, MCT targets the beliefs you have about your thoughts. Beliefs like, I can't control my worry. And the results? They really do speak for themselves. You're looking at recovery rates for generalized anxiety disorder. In head-to-head trials, MCT is hitting a 65% recovery rate. That's compared to just 38% for traditional cognitive behavioral therapy. By simply changing your relationship with your thoughts, you can actually break free from those endless loops of worry. Okay, so we've established this as a trainable skill, and the benefits are huge. So the big question is, how do you actually do it? How do you start training your own mind? Well, let's get into the basic training manual. The absolute core of this whole practice is this super simple 3-step cycle. First, you plan. Before you do anything, read a chapter, write an important email, whatever, just take a second. What's my goal here? How am I going to tackle this? Then, as you're doing it, you monitor. Just check in with yourself. Is this working? Am I zoning out? And finally, after you're done, take literally 30 seconds to evaluate. How'd that go? What could I do better next time? That's it. Plan, monitor, evaluate. And you can start plugging this cycle into some really simple techniques starting today. For instance, after a test or even just a tough meeting, you could use something called an exam wrapper. You just ask yourself, what preparation really paid off for me and what will I do differently next time? Or maybe you could try journaling with prompts like, what was the most challenging part of my day and why? Or what did I notice about how I handle stress today? But look, if you only take away one single tool from all of this, please make it this one. This one simple question. Could I be wrong? Man, this question is a metacognitive powerhouse. It forces you to stop, to step outside your own bubble, check your biases, and actually consider other possibilities. It is the ultimate shortcut to better thinking. Now, this all might sound like a very modern, very scientific trick for your brain, but what's really cool is that the idea of metacognition is tied to some of the oldest, deepest questions in philosophy.
The whole idea of a self that can watch its own thoughts, that's been around for a long time. The philosopher Immanuel Kant basically said that our ability to attach the words "I think" to any experience is what holds our world together. That I is the stable anchor point that lets us step back and observe our own mind at work. So this isn't just some new productivity hack. The very ability to step back and realize, oh, I am having a thought right now, is a fundamental part of what it means to be conscious. Metacognition isn't some extra feature, it's woven into the very fabric of a self-aware mind.
Which brings us right back to our main analogy, and it just sums it all up perfectly. Cognition, that's the brain's engine. It's the raw horsepower, the thinking, the remembering, the problem-solving. But metacognition, that's the driver, the one who's checking the dashboard, reading the map, and actually choosing the destination on purpose. And that, at the end of the day, is the real takeaway here. Without metacognition, we're just running on autopilot, kind of stuck with our brain's default settings. But with it, we get the power to change course, to grow intentionally, and to find a kind of real intellectual freedom. You know, the ancient Greeks had that famous advice carved into the temple of Apollo, know thyself. It's an idea that's echoed through thousands of years, and what's amazing is that modern science has now given us the practical tools to actually do it. So I'll leave you with this question. When you finally start looking at your own mental dashboard, what's the very first thing you think you'll learn?